If you could envision a scenario of your first 100 days in office, what would be your priorities? Of course, COVID-19 being the major thing, I can't think of anything else that you would see of addressing immediate.
COVID-19 is a very serious pandemic, so you will see a national approach to this, an approach that looks at the multi-structure, if I put it that way, of the problem itself. Not only from a public health standpoint, but from an economic standpoint, from a financial standpoint, working with the local private sector, working with workers to ensure that we not only deal with the public health aspect of COVID-19, but we have a clearly defined pathway and plan in returning to normalcy our economic activity, our social activity, and to work out exactly how we are going to leapfrog into normalcy. Trinidad is doing an excellent phase approach right now. We have not even discussed, first of all, the total sum of the impact, so we'll know what the total package of recovery should be, where it should be directed. But we have been doing this assessment over the last few months. So from day one, we are ready to run with policies and programs and incentives to deal with it in a multidisciplinary way that it has to be dealt with. And then, of course, we have to address the serious problems on the ground. The unemployment issues, the issue with bauxite, the issue with the large mining companies, issue with sugar, the rice farmers. We have to address issues in the forestry sector. So there's a lot of, in the construction and services sector. So there's a lot of decisions that has to be made very early. So we have also started the crafting of, if you want to put it this way, an interim budget, the reprioritizing of expenditure, looking at where the bloat is, looking at where the excesses were, and reprioritizing those expenditure, taking the needs of the economy and the needs of our people into consideration. So needs of every Guyanese into consideration. So that is the start point. So in the 100 days, you will see the building of these blocks to move us forward into a future that we can all be proud of.
If I can ask you then, in envisioning a stimulus package, let's say, what have you thought of for poor people?
Well, first of all, the stimulus package for the poor has to be in phase. One is to address the immediate needs. Look at the cost of electricity now. It has not changed. Although the input cost, the greatest input cost is the cost of energy, fuel, and that has come down tremendously. So GPL should be having a windfall at this moment. So we have to find, the first thing we have to do is find ways in which we can adjust some of the social good to put back more disposable income in the pockets of the vulnerable. So the stimulus package must also be empowering the vulnerable, empowering the poorer sections of our society in coming out of the hole they're in now, in where they are right now, because it's bad. We go to families out there who would not want to take a hamper, who would never ever accept a hamper, but they do so now because they don't have a choice. Then we have to kickstart the different sectors to recreate the employment so that people become active once again in terms of their employment, as in a phased manner, looking at the COVID-19 scenario and building up from there. Whilst at the same time, we have to help businesses to re-engage in production, re-engage in retail, re-engage in services. So you have to have a stimulus package there that help the businesses to re-engage, but also help the businesses to provide support for their employees. So that is the start point, really, that we have to look at. At the same time, we have to look at what's taking place with our farmers, because I know because of the lack of demand, the poultry industry, for example, I had a talk with a lot of the players in the poultry industry, and they have really felt this in a hard way. I mean, demand in some cases has fallen by as much as 40%. So you have to first of all now get back the market going, and then you have to be able to build back the capacity to get back to that demand. And remember, whilst a lot of the banks would have offered a 6 months grace period, if you want to put it that way, you still have to repay the loan. So after that 6 months, you're entering back into a scenario that your capital is being diminished, but you still have to service your loan after the 6 months. It's a break at this point, which is good. So we have to address that too. How is it we integrate the financial system back so that you don't have a wave, a tsunami hitting you at the end of that 6 months, but it's a gradual process of easing back the system into normalcy.
Well, thank you for all of that. Now, the PPP believes it has won these elections by over 15,000 votes. That's what your calculations show. I wondered how you go through day to day, knowing that you should have been sworn in as president since, I don't know, just after March 2nd. How do you go day to day, knowing that this situation still exists, where there's...
Well, I've gained a lot of strength from the people of our country. You know, every day you go out there, people will say to you, we cannot give up. We cannot give up. You have to stand up for us. You have to represent us. And the leadership has been enormous. The PPP Civic, you said, is you mentioned about being a well-oiled machinery, political machinery. The PPP has great leadership at the moment. I would want to say that the leadership is really assessing the situation and understanding that our role in Guyana at this moment is not only about getting into government. This is what it is at the moment. We have to fight it. We have to ensure that justice prevails at the end of the day, so we don't get bogged down by the fact, oh, you're already supposed to be in there as president acting. You get upset sometimes because you know what the population is going through, you know the difficulties on the ground, and you know that you could have done something to help by now. And that is the negative from the whole situation. But as it relates to a personal feeling, I think that I'm reignited, re-energized by the public support and the commitment, not only from the PP Civic, but the love for country from so many stakeholders. I mean, you see people approaching a podium and say, I'm here to speak personally because I feel hurt. I feel something that was said was so wrong that it bothered me, it bothers my conscience. And this is really a spirit that has to take Guyana forward. When what is said and done affects you in a way that it hurts your conscience, and you have to speak out against it. It tells you about a new mood. It tells you about a mood that wants to see Guyana succeed. And I think that is refreshing. And all of us, I'm sure, want to see Guyana succeeds at the end of the day. And that is the priority.